When the hunt ends, the next part begins. Preparing dinner is a careful, important task that brings everyone together. The Inuit follow traditions that have kept them fed for generations, turning their hard work into a meal that nourishes both body and community in the cold Arctic. As I discover firsthand, trudging alongside the hunters as we make our way back to camp, my legs burning from the day's exertion, the sky transforms to soft orange as the Arctic sun sets, painting everything in golden light. The 5 Inuit hunters around me seem energized despite carrying today's prize, a ringed seal that must weigh nearly 100 pounds. "We got lucky today," Aklak tells me, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air. "This one didn't make us chase it too much." I laugh, thinking about how my kids back home sprint in the opposite direction when I announce it's bath time. As we approach the homes, children come running, their excited shouts carrying across the snow. The community springs into action like a well-rehearsed dance. The oldest hunter gives a short nod. I learn this simple gesture means today's hunt was successful. They carefully lower the seal onto a prepared area of clean snow. People gather around, ready to help. Hands reach for tools, ulus with curved blades, wooden scraping implements worn smooth from years of use, and stone-cutting platforms. The smell hits me suddenly, a powerful mix of salt, wild meat, and ocean. A young boy wrinkles his nose at me in solidarity before his grandmother gives him a gentle nudge. "That smell means we eat well tonight," she tells him. Some kids complain about broccoli, but here they're learning to appreciate eau de sale. Dogs appear with ears perked and noses working overtime, keeping a respectful distance but watching intently. These unofficial quality control inspectors hope for their share when the time comes. Where else can you get paid in seal scraps for just standing around looking hungry? An elder explains that this single seal will feed 15 people for almost a week. Every part will be used: the meat for meals, the blubber for oil and food, the skin for clothing, even the bones for tools. In this harsh environment, such complete use isn't just tradition, it's survival. Women bring out bone containers to collect the blood while someone lights a stone lamp filled with seal oil. While my friends argue about gas versus electric stoves, these folks are cooking with the original organic free-range fuel. The community works with quiet efficiency, requests for tools, questions about preparing parts, instruction for younger helpers. Stories about previous hunts weave through the conversation. As they position the seal, I sense an atmosphere of gratitude settle over the group. This isn't just dinner preparation, it's a way of life and a celebration of skills that allow these people to thrive in Earth's most challenging environment. I lean in closer, curious about what happens next. The eldest hunter kneels beside the seal, placing his hand briefly on its head before making the first cut. This gesture shows respect for the animal that will soon become their sustenance. "Watch closely," whispers the woman next to me. "This is how we've done it for thousands of years." The primary cutting tool, an ulu, looks nothing like the kitchen knives I know. Its half-moon-shaped blade connected to a bone handle fits perfectly in the hunter's palm. Each movement appears effortless, yet I can see the skill built from years of practice. These knives don't come with instruction manuals, just 20 generations of, "You're doing it wrong, let me show you how." First comes the outer layer of skin with thick blubber beneath. They cut this away in one careful sheet rather than chunks. I learned that skin with blubber attached is called maktak and is eaten raw as a delicacy. An elder smiles at my surprised expression. 4 times more vitamin C than oranges, he tells me. Without it, our ancestors would have died from scurvy. The cutting continues with remarkable precision as the hunter makes a long incision down the belly of the seal. Steam rises from the warm interior, creating a brief cloud in the cold air. It's like the world's most practical puzzle game, except if you make a mistake, dinner is ruined and everyone has to wait until the next hunt. No pressure at all. The butchering proceeds with systematic efficiency, muscle meat separated from organs, Each part treated differently. Nothing is discarded. Even the blood pooling beneath the seal is carefully collected in bone bowls for use as dipping sauce or stew thickener. A young woman notices my interest in a fatty section being set aside. "That's the best part," she explains. "1 pound of seal fat gives about 9,000 calories. In winter, we need those calories." No wonder nobody here is counting carbs or following fad diets. The Arctic fitness plan is just called staying alive. The seal's liver, deep reddish purple and glistening, is removed intact and passed to an elder who cuts thin slices for everyone. I'm offered a piece and hesitate just long enough for a teenager to grin at me. "First-timers always look scared," he says. When I eat it, the rich metallic taste surprises me. Not unpleasant, just entirely new. A middle-aged man exposes the heart. "This goes to the lead hunter," someone explains. "Tradition." I notice how everyone gets something. No fighting over the best parts. No complaining. The distribution follows rules established over countless generations. I watch in fascination as smaller muscles are separated with incredible accuracy. Certain tendons are carefully preserved. I learn these will be dried and used later as strong, flexible thread for sewing clothing and boat covers. My high school biology teacher would be impressed. I barely remembered where the lungs were on the quiz, but these folks could probably reassemble an entire seal blindfolded if they had to. Their precision would make a surgeon jealous, though I doubt many surgeons could work this well while sitting on ice in below freezing temperatures. The skull is cracked open with practiced skill to access the brain, which I'm told contains essential fatty acids critical for survival in this environment. Scientists spent millions on research to discover what the Inuit figured out by simply paying attention. Maybe we should have skipped the lab coats and just asked people who've been surviving in the Arctic for a few thousand years. "Nothing wasted," a hunter tells me as he cleans the hide with a scraper made from caribou antler. "The hide becomes waterproof boots. The meat feeds us today. The fat becomes lamp oil for next month. Even the intestines are thoroughly cleaned and set aside. These will later be filled with a mixture of fat and meat to create a type of sausage that can be stored for long periods. The stomach will become a container for storing oil. Talk about multi-purpose packaging. The seal comes with its own Tupperware, sandwich bags and window treatments, and here I was impressed with those shopping bags that can be reused. The meat now sits in neat piles, dark red muscle sections, lighter organ meat, squares of fat, even bones sorted by size. What started as a whole seal has transformed into tomorrow's meals, next week's oil, and next month's tools and clothing. Not a single usable part has been thrown away. A woman begins gathering certain cuts into a stone pot. The rich aroma signals that the next phase of dinner preparation is about to begin. Now that the seal has been expertly butchered, the cooking begins, though not in ways I expected. 3 distinct preparation methods happen simultaneously around me. An older woman tends to a stone pot suspended over a seal oil lamp. The lamp fascinates me, a carved stone basin with a moss wick that produces a steady flame. While I once thought waiting 2 minutes for my microwave was the height of cooking patience, this woman has been tending this stew since what feels like the Ice Age. "This stew will cook for many hours," she explains, adding chunks of seal meat, blubber and blood to the pot. Slow cooking makes even tough meat tender. She adds dried berries collected during the brief summer months. Gordon Ramsay might demand 20 ingredients, but here the world's simplest recipe creates the world's most necessary meal. Outside in the frigid air, men hang thin strips of meat on the racks made from driftwood and bone. They explain that the extreme cold freezes the outer layer while the inside remains softer, a technique called kullik. "The wind and cold dry the meat better than any machine," a hunter tells me. "Meat prepared this way can last for many months without spoiling." I make a mental note to try this with beef jerky back home, then realize my apartment freezer and the Arctic winter might have slightly different freezing capacities. Most surprising is the third method happening nearby. A group sits eating thin slices of raw meat and blubber cut directly from the seal. They offer me a slice, deep red, almost purple, and glistening. "This is how we get the most nutrients," an elder explains when he sees my hesitation. Cooking destroys some of the good things our bodies need to stay warm. Modern science confirms this. Raw meat contains vitamin C that cooking destroys, critical in a landscape without fruits or vegetables. I take a small piece. The flavor is intense, mineral-rich, slightly sweet, nothing like cooked meat. If fancy restaurants charged $200 for this and called it Arctic Carpaccio, food critics would write poems about its complex flavor profile. A teenage boy slices paper-thin pieces of liver and passes them around. Liver has the most vitamins, he explains. Our grandparents taught us to eat it first. He's right, seal liver contains more vitamin A than almost any other food on Earth. With winter temperatures dropping to -40 degrees, the entire landscape becomes nature's freezer. My refrigerator back home makes annoying noises when it works too hard, but this natural freezer works silently with zero electricity bills. If you can handle the commute to get your frozen dinner. The community moves between these different food stations, everyone involved in some aspect. Children learn by watching and helping with simpler tasks. One little girl solemnly carries a bowl of prepared meat to her grandmother, receiving a proud nod in return. My stomach growls in anticipation, and several people smile knowingly. If my refrigerator at home made these noises, I'd call a repair person. Here it's apparently the highest form of culinary compliment. As the cooking continues, I notice several women beginning to clear a space in the center of the dwelling, preparing for what comes next. As the various cooking methods progress, I grow curious about flavoring. Looking around, I notice something odd. There are no spice containers, no salt shakers, no bottles of sauce. When I ask about seasonings, several community members chuckle at my question. I suddenly feel like the tourist who asks where the nearest Starbucks is in the middle of the Arctic. The meat has its own flavor, explains an elder, pointing to the stew pot. When you live in a place where food can be scarce, you learn to appreciate the true taste of what nature provides. Unlike the kitchens I know, Inuit cooking relies on the natural flavors already present in the animals they hunt. My spice rack at home has 32 bottles, half of which expired during the Obama administration. These folks just need one ingredient. Seal. Talk about minimalist cooking. The fat content in seal meat, around 75% higher than beef, creates a rich, distinctive taste that stands on its own without added seasonings. A woman stirs the simmering pot, explaining how the blood being added isn't just for nutrition, but serves as a natural sauce, thickening the stew and adding a depth of flavor that reminds me of the richest gravy I've ever tasted. Try this, she says, offering me a small piece of blubber that's been aged for several weeks. The flavor hits my tongue with unexpected intensity, slightly fermented, nutty, with a buttery richness that lingers. It might sound odd, but this isn't your everyday barbecue sauce. It's what happens when flavor doesn't come from a bottle with a barcode. Around me, people dip fresh meat into small bowls of what I learn is a mixture of seal blood and melted fat. This simple combination serves as both sauce and nutritional powerhouse, loaded with iron, protein, and essential fatty acids that help bodies cope with the extreme cold. The taste changes with the seasons, a hunter tells me. Spring seals taste different from winter seals. Their diet changes, so their meat changes too. What surprises me most is how much the Inuit focus on texture. Certain parts of the seal are prized, not just for taste, but for their particular mouthfeel. Food critics write endless articles about mouthfeel in fancy restaurants. But these folks mastered the concept while the rest of us were still figuring out how to make fire. An elder explains that seal blubber contains roughly 8,000 calories per kilogram, an astonishing energy density that helps sustain life in this harsh environment. For people who might need to trek miles across ice in sub-zero temperatures. This caloric richness isn't indulgence, but necessity. Some cuts are deliberately allowed to age slightly, developing flavors similar to high-end dry-aged steaks. Five-star restaurants charge extra for aged meat, but here it's just what happens when dinner has to last through winter. Mother Nature, the original culinary innovator since the Ice Age. I watch as a young boy takes his first bite of fermented seal flipper, his face initially uncertain before breaking into a smile of approval. The adults nod approvingly. Learning to appreciate these distinct flavors is part of growing up here, like a bizarre food critic training program where the alternative to developing good taste is going hungry. While the meat and stew continue cooking, several people move to arrange the freshly cut raw portions that are ready to eat. The care they take in presentation suggests there's more to this meal than just nutrition. The food now prepared through various methods, attention turns to the gathering space where everyone will eat together. An elderly woman directs the arrangement with subtle gestures. A large sealskin mat is spread on the floor in the center of the dwelling, creating a clean surface for serving. Unlike the formal dining tables I'm accustomed to, this table setting involves arranging food directly on the clean mat in specific patterns. Raw pieces are placed closest to the edge, then dried portions, and finally the hot stew in the center where it will stay warmest. Everyone sits according to age and position, whispers a woman as she places sliced liver in neat rows. Elders here, hunters there, children at the back but still close enough to reach. No fighting over who gets the best chair, or arguing about being seated at the kids' table. Everyone knows their spot better than assigned seating at a wedding reception. I noticed something interesting. Different cuts of meat are positioned near where specific people will sit. The elder explains that certain parts are traditionally given to specific community members. The eyes to the youngest child for good vision, heart to the lead hunter for courage, brain to elders for wisdom. These traditions aren't just symbolic, but ensure the most nutritious parts go to those who need them most. There are no individual plates. The community shares directly from the central display. Each person will use their personal knife, an ulu for adults or smaller blade for children, to cut pieces as they eat. I'm loaned a beautifully carved, bone-handled knife made from caribou antler that has been used for more than 40 years. Before we begin, we honor the seal, an elder tells me as everyone settles into position. The community falls silent for a moment, acknowledging the animal's sacrifice with a respectful pause. The circular seating arrangement serves practical purposes beyond tradition. Studies have shown that in Arctic conditions, this type of communal gathering can raise the ambient temperature by up to 5 degrees, a significant benefit when outside temperatures drop below -40. As everyone takes their places, children watch adults carefully, learning proper behavior through observation. A small boy mimics his grandfather's precise cutting technique, his little hands awkward but determined. How even the youngest try to act like seal experts at dinner, the Arctic version of kids pretending to know about wine by swirling apple juice in a glass. The eldest begins the meal by taking the first piece, signaling that everyone may now eat. Conversation starts slowly, then builds as people relax into the ritual of sharing food. Stories flow as freely as the tea being passed around. Tales of past hunts, community history, and gentle teasing. When we eat together, we also feed our connections to each other, says an elder between bites of aged blubber. The seal becomes part of us, and we become stronger as a group. What strikes me most is how the arrangement creates natural conversation. Without distractions, people truly engage with each other. Dinner conversation here doesn't involve awkward political arguments or desperate attempts to get teenagers to look up from their phones, just genuine human connection around life's basic needs. Despite the harsh conditions outside, laughter ripples through the group as someone tells a funny story about a hunting trip gone wrong. The warmth isn't just physical, but emotional. This meal doubles as entertainment, education, and community bonding. As the stew pot empties and the sliced meats disappear, I notice how certain leftovers are being set aside with particular care. As the meal draws to a close, I expect to see dirty dishes piled up, waiting to be washed, but the Inuit approach to cleaning up proves just as fascinating as their cooking methods. With the communal meal finished, the group shifts smoothly into post-dinner activities that are just as organized as the preparation was. First come the tools. Every knife used during the meal is carefully cleaned, but not with soap and hot water. Instead, people use handfuls of fresh snow gathered from outside, rubbing it along the blades until they gleam. The cold snow not only removes food residue, but also sterilizes the surface. The extreme cold kills bacteria nearly as effectively as heat does. When an elder notices my surprised expression, she explains that traditional cleaning methods like this have kept their community healthy for countless generations without any need for modern disinfectants. In the old days, before trading posts brought in metal tools, we used bone and stone implements, she tells me. Those needed even more careful cleaning to last through the seasons. The bone-handled knife I borrowed is wiped clean and handed back to its owner, who tucks it into a sealskin pouch for safekeeping. The sealskin mat that served as our table is taken outside, shaken vigorously to remove crumbs, and then scrubbed with snow. Nothing fancy, but perfectly effective. In a place where the cleaning aisle of a supermarket is several hundred miles away, snow turns out to be nature's all-purpose cleaner. No lemon scent, but plenty of freshness. Most impressive is how the community handles leftovers. Unlike my habit of forgetting containers in the back of the refrigerator until they develop new life forms, the Inuit have elevated leftover management to an art form. Different types of meat are wrapped separately according to how they'll be used later. "These will be eaten tomorrow," explains a middle-aged woman, as she wraps chunks of meat in clean animal skin before placing them in a special snow-covered cache just outside the dwelling. The natural refrigeration keeps everything perfectly preserved without using any electricity. Other portions are hung on drying racks where they'll slowly transform into preserved meat for later use. Some parts that can't be eaten, bone fragments, bits of gristle, are carefully collected for the sled dogs. These canine garbage disposals provide a valuable service by ensuring nothing edible goes to waste, though they clearly have their own opinions about what counts as edible. The rendered fat left in the cooking pot isn't poured down a drain, but collected in a container for use as lamp oil. A single seal can provide enough oil to light a home for several weeks, a vital resource during the long dark Arctic winter when light is as precious as food. Inuit motto, "Nothing goes to the trash, everything goes to dinner," jokes an elder as he helps organize the remains, either tonight's dinner or next month's. This isn't just clever resource management, it's survival. In an environment where new food sources might be days or weeks away, depending on hunting conditions, waste isn't just inefficient, it's potentially fatal. A teenager scrapes the bottom of the stew pot with his knife, collecting the last bits of rich broth. Funny how someone always claims they didn't eat that much right before volunteering to help clean the serving dishes that still have traces of food in them. Some teenage behaviors cross all cultural boundaries. The cooking stones used to heat the stew are cleaned and set aside for reuse. These smooth rocks might not look special, but they're carefully chosen for their ability to hold heat without cracking when placed in fire. A good cooking stone is passed down through generations, accumulated wisdom in solid form. With everything cleaned and stored, the community gathers around the oil lamp for evening storytelling. I realize that even in cleaning up, I've learned crucial lessons about Arctic survival.